Hello, everyone. This is Carolyn Chavino, and welcome to What's Happening in the World of Work. Well, this is Mental Health Care Month, and we've had this amazing guest on this show before, Junie Felix. And what better person to lead us into what's happening in the world of mental health is Junie. Junie left us last time with sharing with us in order to be your best self at work, you have to do the work. Hence her book, which she's going to do a deeper dive in, You Are Worth the Work. And there's so many components to this book. Junie just shared with me today about this beautiful butterfly, and she is going to take us into her journey. Junie, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
To have you.
It's an honor to be here, Carolyn. Thank you so much for inviting me back, and especially for Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
This is something that's really special to me because it's also Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Okay.
And my heritage on my mother's side is Japanese. And so the fact that Mental Health Awareness Month and my mother's birthday, also in the month of May, all in one place, and then a chance to come and share some hope and encouragement for bringing your best self, not just to work or the interview, but showing up as your best self every single day.
I love that voice of yours.
Thank you.
If you all can remember, Junie is an actual famous broadcaster right here in the city of Chicago. Junie, want to just recap just slightly before we dive into your wonderful book?
Sure. I've been a broadcaster now for 22 years. It was my first big girl job, and I've been doing it for a long time.
Yes.
Started doing radio, live radio, and just broadcasting mostly in the auditory realm for the last couple decades. But I think one of the things that it's taught me is that there are so many people, so many stories, so many wonderful things to celebrate, and to have been asked to share those stories over the last 2 decades has really been my honor and privilege. Because we have so much that we can learn from each other. Yes. And grow, and so much loving light we can shine when we work together in community.
I agree with that. And thank you for sharing that with us. Sometimes people hold on to things and don't want to share, but you're all about sharing and you're all about mentoring.
Yeah.
So I would like to know what inspired you to write this great book?
Well, the title of the book is You Are Worth the Work. And then the subtitle is Moving Forward from Trauma to Faith. Because if you don't believe you're worthy, then you're not going to take the steps forward that you need to take to move forward and to heal from trauma and from abuse and from all kinds of trials and peril. I mean, there's so many things that happen to us in this life. It's just not fair and it's just not right. And we walk around so often with this heartache and this heartbreak.
Yes.
If you wake up every morning with a broken heart, I know what that's like. For a lot of my journey, that was my story. And I mentioned my mother because my mother was sick as long as I knew her. I never knew her well. She was one of the most unwell human beings you could ever imagine. And that heartache and that trauma from her childhood that she could never quite discover a way to break free from, that was a big part of the inspiration for this work, because her struggles led to, of course, my struggles.
Of course.
And my extremely traumatic childhood, when I was diagnosed at a very early age with post-traumatic stress disorder and major depressive disorders at a very young age, childhood and forward, I just decided that I was going to make it my assignment to discover, first of all, a path toward healing, hope, and even joy. So I was about 17 years old where I made that decision. I'm going to figure out how this mind works, and I'm going to figure out how to design a life that is not like my mother's, whose legacy was sorrow and sadness. She's no longer with us. She passed away in 2015, but her legacy was sorrow and sadness.
Yes.
And I have learned some valuable things that I can share to help people who decide that's not going to be my legacy. My legacy is going to be one of love and hope and joy. So I wrote this book to help others to know that they too could design a path toward joy, so they could overflow that love and light that we're all designed to share and experience.
Absolutely. But to have that kind of strength and insight at 17, your journey at a younger age had to really be significant to provide such strength, as obviously we find our strength through all the trials and tribulations that we go through, all the things that we have to have courage to
Yeah.
walk through.
Hmm.
Would you like to tap into some of those?
I feel blessed. I can use that language now. To have grown up in what can only be described as a whirlwind of chaos and
Okay.
trauma and drama, first world poverty, just every day was just filled with the unexpected. I was a homeless child and just saw people at their very worst on a regular basis and really had a lot of questions about what it means to be a human being on planet Earth and what this life is supposed to be about. From as early as age 4, I can remember having feelings like this from being on suicide watch most of my life, my
Yeah.
entire childhood on suicide watch, and most of my adult life because of my mother's struggles. But it was about age 12, though,
Hmm.
when I shared a little bit of this before in a previous conversation that they took a school bus of us. We were living
Yes.
in Germany, and they took us on a school bus to one of the largest death camps it was Dachau concentration camp. And being at age 12, walking those gravel roads and seeing the bunks and the
Wow.
gas chambers and the incinerating ovens,
Mm.
and in the museum looking at the pictures of survivors. And I thought at age 12, okay, if humanity is capable of this much evil and darkness, then I want to be a part of what's good in this world. It must also be possible for us to be a part of what is good and right and true. And I decided at age 12, I want to be a part of what's good.
Thank goodness.
And I'm a researcher. I couldn't call it that at the time, but I just started researching, how our minds work and how if we could just as easily choose one thing, then we are empowered to choose something else. And I decided at that early age, I will be a part of what's good in this world by learning everything I can about what it takes and what I need to do. So it was a seed that was planted from an early age that I have worth and value and I can be a part of what's good.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very glad that you had that school bus adventure. Seriously. It's those types of little things in our lives that trigger
Yeah,
a response and trigger growth that we don't even understand.
no.
So to me, it was a situation that you were supposed to experience in order to provide you with the strength and the wherewithal to say, no, this is not what the earth is supposed to be like. This is not supposed to be the way for people. And you
Mhm.
took that, you internalized that, and
Yeah.
my goodness, here comes this beautiful tree with these little buds. And then we started to really grow those branches of the tree, right?
It's systematic, all of it. And
Yes.
I have to go back even before age 12 to age 9
Oh my.
because I was a homeless little girl. We were living in shelters, sleeping in public restrooms, in cars, shelters for battered women and children. That was my experience. But at that time, my mom, she managed to keep us in school. And I was in the library on that. Do you remember those Apple IIe computers?
Absolutely.
And we would put in that disc to fire up and go on the quest of the Oregon Trail. I was 9 years old. I'll never forget. And I'm on this computer thinking, I have to find out how this thing works. And it planted
Ah.
a seed. So I would go to the library and I would read popular mechanics and computer programming books and things like that. And I started figuring out there were some parallels
Hmm.
about how our minds work, even at that early age.
Yeah.
I took my first computer programming class in the 10th grade. That's where I met my husband. And
Yes.
was 15 years old and started learning BASIC and C++. And what really stood out to me about it is that one keystroke at a time. The technology that we use every day is designed one keystroke at a time. And I started seeing the parallels. Our lives and the legacy of our lives are designed one tiny but mighty decision at a time. Just like a keystroke in a line of code,
Look at
it
you.
accumulates into a lifelong legacy
Yes.
of what can be love and light and hope and faith and truth. One tiny but mighty decision at a time. And that's one of the reasons I write about in my book is that trauma is bad code. Those experiences of life
Yes.
that plant those tiny seeds of lies, really, about your worth and your value and your gifting, who you are in this world, that accumulates into a life. And we are each and every one of us, you and I, Carolyn, we are each designing the life that we believe we deserve.
Agreed.
And so when we make that decision in life, one tiny but mighty decision after the next, we need to be mindful of the fact that we're designing a life and a legacy. And it can be telling one story or it can tell another. And a lot of times as trauma survivors, we let our abusers or those scenarios that broke us,
right,
we let them continue to write lines of code in our stories or chapters in our stories that can create a lot of glitchy behaviors and results
exactly. So
that we don't desire.
How do you get there, though? I mean, I completely agree with you 100%. But how does one sit back and say, I am not going to allow you to write a negative code?
I love that question.
That's the work, right?
It is.
Not
it is
what you're talking about.
Yeah, because that heartache, that heartbreak, they're wounds to your mind, your body, and your soul. And if you're watching right now and you're a trauma survivor like I am, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't fair. And you didn't deserve it. But you can be well. You can design a system and a plan that works best for you to come out of that darkness. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. But your healing journey and your recovery journey, that is your responsibility.
Yes, it is.
And so I think a good first step is taking the focus off the situation, the scenario, or even the abusers in your life, putting that back on yourself.
Okay.
And understanding that self-care is never selfish. You have worth and value in this world. And though your wounds have told you lies, you need to do the work to find out the truth. Because if you're living out your victim identity, it's very tempting to live out of that victim identity. This happened to me. It wasn't right. It was wrong. And I'm still hurting. That's an identity.
Yes,
that sorrow can become your identity. That's what happened with my mom. She wasn't able to see the sunshine or the sprouting of the flowers in the spring because all she could see, when you're hurt, you're looking at your life through the lens of your trauma and your pain.
Okay.
But when you start doing this good work toward healing, you start to get some more clearance,
Right.
You can see clearly the truth about what's good and right and true in your life. And that is your first step to victory. It's just having the courage to slow down and say, I'm worth this work. Take your power back and accept the truth.
Yes. And once you do that, is it a matter of sitting daily with yourself and journaling, empowering yourself? What are the steps to do that, taking back of your power, to give yourself that immense feeling of, I've got this. I've got this for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Well, a good first step is deciding the type of person you want to be.
Okay.
That goes back to me being 12 years old, literally at a concentration camp, looking at what is possible and thinking about the type of person you want to be.
Yes.
Is a person who is healthy, a person who is a source of light in this world, no matter how tiny. In Matters of Love, I teach the science of human behavior with Dr. B.J. Fogg's Behavior Design Lab at Stanford. And behavior design is the science of love because at the root of it, it's the tiniest things that accumulate and make the biggest difference.
Okay.
So your first step is just accepting, stop talking to yourself like a bully. There's enough bullies in this world.
Wow.
Be kind to yourself.
Wow.
Don't look in the mirror and say, what's wrong with you?
Wow.
Slow down, look in the mirror and say, what happened to you?
Yes.
Not what's wrong with you, what happened to you. And then take the time to honor what you're feeling. Don't criticize it, don't judge it. Honor your story and your journey and say that wasn't right, that was wrong, you deserve better. And give yourself that love and affirmation and care.
Yes.
That you are so worthy of, that you deserve as a human being.
I love it. Do you have a YouTube video or an empowerment video that people can go to kind of continuing that self-motivation, that encouragement, the steps that you have in your amazing book? Is there a vehicle that you've created or are you thinking of creating that people can go to to continue to be empowered, because as you know, it takes time.
Oh, yes, yes. It takes time. It's a moment by moment journey. And every moment that you spend is a victory and worthy of
Yes.
celebration. But yeah, I have resources available on my website, JunieFelix.com, and also on YouTube. I've done many interviews,
Good.
podcast interviews since the launch of this work in particular, just helping people to understand that sometimes the first and biggest step is just taking that courage. One of my friends, Susie Larson, she taught me that. Take courage, slow down, and the first step is just recognizing, hey, I need help.
Yes.
And then celebrate that you said those words, whether you said them out loud or just in your spirit. I need help. And the resources, there are so many great resources. One of my favorite YouTube creators, she's the Crappy Childhood Fairy.
What?
Yeah, I really like that channel. But, that all those resources came together in this work here.
Okay.
Because you just have to take the time and create. There's a tutorial in this book about creating a literal toolkit.
These you for that.
Tiny items and reminders of the things that bring you joy, that make you you. One of my mentees that I worked with who'd been through severe abuse, I mean, she was abused by both parents and by others in her community, severely abused as a child.
Yeah.
The first assignment I gave her was, this week, your assignment is, what's your favorite color? Because no one in her life had ever asked her that question. She had been used and abused so much that no one had ever asked her what's her favorite color. No one had ever cared. So that whole week, her assignment was to recognize her favorite color. And every time she saw her favorite color, I taught her a tiny habit, which is one of the tools that I teach, tiny habits. Every time you see that favorite color, I want you to say, I am so loved.
Wow.
And so the anchor moment was seeing her favorite color. The tiny behavior was saying out loud, I said, don't care who's looking or who's watching. Yeah. I am so loved.
Absolutely.
And then a tiny celebration. You always have to follow with a tiny celebration, because that tiny but good feeling, that's what wires the habit into your brain, because it's our emotions that create habits. It's not repetition. But tiny celebration, she was just supposed to give herself a hug.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Sometimes it's just a smile and a deep calming breath. But take a tiny step toward the life that you were designed to enjoy, which is a life of overflowing love and light and joy. You can't bring your best self to that interview or to your workplace if you don't know who your best self is. And this is really great. This is actual science I'm sharing here. The science of joy. Who you are, Carolyn, when you're most joyful, that's your true self. And so if you have a lifestyle where you know how to generate in a moment at a time that tiny but mighty feeling of joy. We call it, in the science of behavior design, we call it the feeling of shine, shining your light. Then that accumulates into an overflowing lifestyle of love and light to share. But you have to take that first step. Create your tiny habits toolkit, your toolkit for your healing journey. Unapologetically begin this healing journey. Create that toolkit filled with those things that bring you joy. And you can practice this right now, Carolyn.
I'd love to.
My son and I have just started gardening.
I love gardening.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's such a great example of how you plant that tiny seed.
Yes.
But you lovingly care for it, put it in the right environment, and then you get that sprout in just a few days.
Right.
The satisfaction of making that choice creates that feeling of shine. So that's something new in my journey that brings me and my son a lot of shine. But what about you? What's a tiny thing in your journey, Carolyn, that brings you shine? A tiny thing. The tinier, the better.
Tiny thing for me would be humming.
Yeah. Perfect.
I love music, and I love humming. I love it because I feel my vocal cords resonating. And I feel like I can play with it, and it could be rhythmic, it could be monotone, it could be many different things.
Yes.
So for me, my simple thing is so simple. It's just, and it can go into, and it could even be formulated into a chant.
There you go.
You know.
So you look at the way that naturally grows because it brings you joy.
Yes.
So let's say you're having a rough time, a rough season in life.
Yeah.
Maybe you just got some news from the doctor that you don't really know how to feel about it. It's bringing you down a little bit.
Yeah.
But you remember that a tiny but mighty thing you can do is hum maybe just one or two notes of your favorite hymn or song
Yes,
brings you that feeling of shine.
it does.
And so after I feel, because emotions create habits,
Yeah.
after I feel worried about what the doctor said yesterday, I will hum 3 notes of my favorite song. You might just keep going. That shine keeps growing. And it reminds you that no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. And you know, yours is a built-in celebration. The humming is a built-in celebration, or you can add a celebration to it. Maybe do a tiny happy dance.
Exactly.
That's part of the formula. It's part of the tool. It's that your behavior is something that you can design and weave those moments of shine that will keep you moving forward with hope and joy instead of dread and fear.
Agreed. And what I hear you saying very loud and clear to me is that we have to wrap our arms around ourselves.
Yes.
We can't wait for somebody to feed into us. What I hear you saying is we need to take the steps, obviously do the work, but find those little things like what is your favorite color? What is your favorite moment? And really embrace that part of us and not wait for anyone else to do it.
Yeah, I'm
but
so
do
glad.
it for us.
Yeah.
For us. Just love ourselves for who we are.
It's true. You said embrace. That's such a great word because that's what you're doing. You're embracing who you are.
Yes.
The love you show, the light you shine. And when you take these steps to understand, humming brings you joy. That's just one thing in the toolkit for you.
Yeah.
What are some other things? Find some photos of people that you love. Every time you look at that photo, it brings you that good feeling of shine and you smile. Have this built into your environment where you have ways of reminding yourself of what's good in the journey.
Okay.
And that's what will keep you moving forward and help you to embrace who you're designed to be. Sometimes we get angry at people because they don't accept us. They don't understand us. Do you accept and understand yourself?
Ooh.
Have you done the work to accept, embrace, and understand who you are? Because that self-rejection is some of the most toxic stuff on the planet.
Right.
Your self-rejection, it can cause you to think that the world and life is rejecting you. You never fit in anywhere because you're rejecting yourself.
Yes.
Embrace who you were designed to be. Learn your gifts. This is also covered in the book. Armor up, and this is part of doing the discovery work. Discovery work is research about you. You 101. What brings you joy? What is your definition of success? What is your definition of happiness? If you don't know, happiness is an abstraction. You need a concrete objective. What makes you happy?
Right.
Know what makes you happy, what brings you joy, and then you can design toward that for you and overflow that love and light wherever you go. Embrace and get to know who you are. You are worth the work, and it is work.
Yes, it is.
Recovery from complex trauma is wildly courageous, difficult work, but you're worth the work.
And it is courageous. It certainly is. And I think sometimes, people wait and they go, with age comes wisdom. Yes, it does. But I think perhaps we wait too long to embrace who we are, to love on ourselves and to accept our flaws and to actually embrace your flaws. I keep going to that word embrace, but it's the truth. It's like, what's wrong with my flaw? Is it a flaw? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Maybe you think so, and you've tried to convince me that it is a flaw, but I kind of like that flaw about me.
That's right. Those quirky things that make you, you.
Absolutely.
They're beautiful. It's a part of a work of art.
And therefore, I have learned through age, yes, but I'm hoping that young folks like yourself and younger, and as you did at 9 and 12, and my goodness, I know there are many out there like yourself who get it before some of us do or have. And it's seriously a matter of taking control of your life, like you've said. Who do you want to be?
What type of person do you want to be?
Who
it's an
are
identity
you?
shift.
Yes.
Yes.
But who really are you? Are you trying to be like someone else? Or are you embracing the truthfulness and the gifts that you were blessed with?
Oh, yes. One of my new affirmations that I use is I am a shining example of PTSD.
I-
Now, my
Come on.
earliest,
Come on
my
with it.
earliest diagnosis is complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's complex childhood post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, that's what I was hearing for so long. But the
Yeah.
more I researched, the more I learned. It wasn't that I just got it. This is the tiny but mighty accumulation, one keystroke at a time, research. Post-traumatic stress growth. I am a champion of post-traumatic stress growth.
Yes.
I have been through, and at times you're going through something that's traumatic,
Yeah.
but I am a champion, a master of post-traumatic stress growth.
Yes.
This is not going to stop me. This is going to be water for watering that garden of victory and joy and strength.
Yes.
And because I understand how human behavior actually works, and it's systematic. That's something that we know for sure. The science of behavior design is that human behavior is not random and unpredictable. It's systematic.
Yeah.
Once you understand the system, you can design a personalized system for your healing journey that can lead you to become one of the warriors that are standing up tall as champions and masters of post-traumatic stress growth. No, this abuser, this situation, you cannot have me, not for one more moment.
Beautiful.
I will grow and I will shine and I will overflow this love and light into the world, because that's what I was designed to do. And that's what you were designed to do. We have a love to show and a light to shine. And don't let anything or anyone put that out. You can design a system that will work just for you, but you've got to do the work. And there's so many resources.
Yes.
Carolyn, you and I, we both love us some Google.
Yes.
There's so many resources. You do have to be careful.
Google.
Yeah, they say don't Google your symptoms.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you, Google your symptoms.
Exactly.
And design a toolkit. I had big, thick binders since I was a teenager.
Okay.
I'm not going to repeat this legacy of sorrow and shame and defeat. How about I design a legacy for myself and my sons of hope and love and joy and faith?
And model that for others as well.
And do what I can to help others to know they can too.
Yeah, and you are. You're doing a terrific job with that. And you have with your broadcast, and you give people hope, and you help with just your level of encouragement, your voice, your power, your wisdom. You know, it just shines.
Thank you, Carolyn.
It does.
And you
It
have a gift of
shines.
encouragement. And sometimes we think those gifts are tiny things, but they're not. They are beacons of light. You have a gift of encouragement. My siblings, I have a few siblings, they have a gift of baking. I mean, my sister,
as long as it's
Mariko,
yummy.
you know, she can bake up she can make some wonderful things. And that's part of the research, doing the homework. What is
Yeah.
you 101? Do you express love in sharing a meal? Do you express love by sending a text message or a DM of encouragement? Do you express love by, fixing someone's car? We have all of these talents and skills and gifts that were created in us
Right.
for us to overflow love and light at every opportunity. And no overflow is too tiny. No expression of the love and the light that you show in the unique ways that only you can is too tiny. So don't hold back. Show up and
Okay.
shine bright, but first show up and shine bright for yourself.
Absolutely.
Be kind to yourself. There's enough bullies in the world, and your situation is not your destiny, and sorrow is not your permanent address. You are victorious, and every tiny but mighty step you take is worthy of celebration, because you're worthy of celebration.
Junie Felix, I absolutely adore you. Thank you so very much for taking us through this amazing, powerful book. I had no idea that there were the tools, and I've read this twice.
Oh, thank you.
But like you said, you need your arsenal. You need your tools.
Need that toolkit.
And I love the idea of a toolkit. We all need toolkits, that's for sure. But if you have an opportunity, please, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Share this with someone. It doesn't necessarily have to be you feeling like you have angst or you're not happy, but you may know someone. And again, it's our responsibility to each other as human beings to encourage, to assist where needed, and not to wait and think, oh, they got it. Sometimes appearances are deceiving.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will make you think they can handle anything. But in reality, they're looking for somebody to give them a hug. Give them a hug of this book. And this is You Are Worth the Work by my friend and most powerful person that I know in my tribe of women, Miss Junie Felix. Thank you so much, Junie. And I hope you come back again and share more tools with us.
I will be glad to. And thank you for sharing your time and watching this because, just keep it tiny. Tiny is mighty.
Yes.
And let's all convert to that mindset of recognizing that it's the tiniest things that make the biggest difference and accumulate into a life of love and joy. Thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you. And thank you, Aurora Cable TV Network. We cannot have these programs without you and the talented team behind the scenes that I absolutely think the world of. Hopefully one day they'll be on the show so you could meet them. Until next time, thank you.